Welcome back, acolytes, neophytes, and general practitioners of Capture One software. Today, I'm going to look at something that was recently introduced into one of the updates of Capture One. I think it's Capture One 16.7, so it's a couple of iterations back, and it is the new and slightly lighter and easier to use contact sheet tool inside Capture One. As a little bit of a background, contact sheets were traditionally a large print where the negatives of a shoot were placed over that print, pressed down with a sheet of glass, and then briefly exposed to light before being developed in the requisite dev chemistry. This was a quick and easy way to be able to see the photographs as positives as opposed to negative view and allow editors to be able to quickly check images and select which ones should be used for enlargement or publication. I used this all the time to be able to quickly go through negatives and be able to keep a record of which images I should enlarge for future use, as well as put down notes and basically see what I was going to be doing with the photographs in a later stage. As you can see with this contact sheet that I created years ago for the Ides of March at Rhodes University, when I was still a student armed with a film camera. Fast forward to 2026 and the term contact sheet now has very little bearing with how we created contact sheets in the past. It is still a very useful way to create a grid view of images so that a potential client can actually look through all the images on a single page and select the images they would like, either for further development or for publication or for purchase. Just last week, I was involved shooting a large logistics exercise, moving a 6 by 6 meter 10-ton bearing from the Durban harbour, and I produced the images for the client, but at the same time I also produced a large series of contact sheets so that the client could go through all the work that I had shot in order to be able to quickly check to see if there were any additional images that they needed for their own use. So that's one primary use of contact sheets. It's a way to be able to push a whole bunch of images onto individual pages so that your client can go through the photographs quickly. Now, this is where the magic happens. In the past, Capture One did allow you to be able to produce contact sheets, and I'll just quickly demonstrate this by heading down to the images that I starred over here, selecting them, and then going through to print by hitting Command P. And you could see you could create multiple images by simply creating rows and heading those off as individual images. You could then hit print and basically send that through to a PDF instead. So we'll then say PDF, and you would save it as a PDF. So it was a great way to be able to produce contact sheets, but they tended to be quite large and it was a little bit more complicated being able to produce them. Capture One have now produced a new simplified and streamlined way to produce contact sheets. I'm going to head back to a album that I've created over here of a portrait shoot that I did a while ago for the CEO magazine. So here we've got the photographs that I would like to send to the editor to select the photos. So I'm going to select all of my photographs here, and I'm going to head up to File, and now you'll see that in the export section, there is a new line item called Export to Contact Sheet. And there we go. We've now got the various images. At the moment, it's set to 1 image per page. So I'm going to set that to a grid of 3 by 3. So now we've got our 3 by 3. I also think that this should be printable potentially. So I'm going to have it as a standard vertical format. So I'm going to change my sizing on the page layout to 2000 by 3000. So we now have a standard layout over here. We can change our margins as well if we want to. So I can push that out to 30 by 30. There we go. So that's 30 on the top and 30 on the sides. And we can also change the margins between the images themselves by setting that. So I'm going to do those also by 30 by 30. There we go. And there are my images over here. Let's change the background. At the moment, it's a light gray. We'll push that back to white. And there we have our contact sheet. Of course, this doesn't necessarily help the editor find the photographs or tell me which ones that they want to edit. So I have to remember to include the name. And this will just include the file name of each of the photographs underneath, which makes it easier for the editor to then email me back and say they would like whichever images they need finessed or further edited. We can also add star ratings, and you'll see that images that I have now starred will come across and we've got 2 stars over there. And I can also add color tags. So here you can see is a photograph that I have as a 5-star, and it has a green color tag. So it indicates to the editor that this is a photograph that I feel is fairly good. So this is the first step. Great, we've now got our contact sheet, but we can take it a step further and we can make it look that much more professional by adding a cover page. So the cover page, you'll actually have to go and edit yourself or create a photograph in the JPEG, TIFF, or RAW file. And we're going to select an image that I have already produced as a cover page. So I've taken a photograph, I've edited it in a bitmap editor like Photoshop or Affinity, and so here is my session folder, and you'll see the usual capture folder, selects, trash, output. And what's important is that if you keep everything inside your session folder, you can also add some of your extra bits and pieces. So I have extras, which I often add into a session folder to keep all of the project together. And I'm just going to find my cover page. We'll add that, and there we go. We now have a cover page where I've added text, so the CEO magazine cover shoot, the date that it was shot, as well as some contact information, who the photographer was. So that is now a cover for the PDF that I'm going to produce. What we can then do as well, just to remind the editor who the photographer is, we can add a header over here. So I'm going to choose my header, and again, I've created a PNG file which says CEO magazine cover shoot, the date, and the photographer, and that'll go onto each of the pages as well. You can then export this either as a JPEG or a PDF file. If you produce it as a JPEG, it produces a low compression resolution file of 2000 by 3000 pics image file of every single contact sheet. So in other words, I would have not only the cover page, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages thereafter of these grid view contact sheets. Those will be saved individually, but also as a zipped file that you can then send off to your client. Now, bear in mind that zipped JPEG files are still going to be fairly large. And in the case of the images that I produced for the logistics client, that zipped file still came to 72 megabytes. So it was fairly large. If you need something that's a little bit easier to share, though, I would suggest using PDF, which then produces a single PDF file that can be viewed online, printed out, or just emailed fairly easily. If I PDF this one, so if we go through to the session, you will find it inside my extras, and here is my PDF folder, which you can see. And there we go. That's what it comes out looking like. But let's take this in a step further. Let's say you would like to produce a quick booklet of images that you can then PDF and send off to potential viewers of your work, or a publisher, or anybody who you would like to share those images with as a easily viewable PDF file. So what I'll do now is I'm going to head back to my album that I've created over here, and I've got a few Madagascar photographs. So if I select all of those photos and I head up to File, let's go back down to Export to Contact Sheet. And this time we're going to create something that would be very easily viewed on a tablet. So I'm going to do a horizontal format. So we'll do 3000 by 2000 pixels. And this time round, I would like to only have an individual image on every page. So I'm just going to do my dimensions 1 by 1. I'd like the background to be a light gray. So let's push that down to a light gray over there. There we go. And I don't actually need the file names this time around, so I'm going to switch off the name, color tag, and star rating. We now have a contact sheet that is basically just going to be the individual photographs, and that looks pretty good. To be able to just give it a name, I'm going to add a footer, so I'm going to choose footer, and I've gone and saved this on my desktop. And again, it's just a PNG file, but it's a PNG file that says images of Madagascar, and there we go. So we now have our images of Madagascar, and if I want to share that easily with somebody, I'll just head up to my export it as a PDF, and the final result is going to look like this. At the moment, it's got the name of the actual session that I had, so I can also rename that obviously to something that I would like to share. But there we go. That is a nice, easy way to be able to share images as a PDF file or as JPEGs with potential viewers of your work. Right, nice and quick today. Thanks very much for watching. Please remember to pop a like and subscribe into the various blocks around the YouTube screen. Your support goes a long way in allowing me to continue this channel, which is self-funded. So those likes, subscribes, and comments do a world of good. Thank you very much for those of you who already have. If you've got suggestions for future Capture One videos, please pop them into the comments below. I will see if I can get round to doing them at some stage. Otherwise, I hope to see you again soon on the next video. Until then, have a great week shooting. Cheers.